All we know of the mind, the body, and the world are thoughts, images, feelings, bodily sensations, and sense perceptions. That is, sights, sounds, tastes, textures, and smells. Just check that out to begin with and make sure that that is true in your experience. Nothing will be said here this evening that cannot be checked directly in your own experience. Just range freely over the entire realm of experience, so-called inside and so-called outside, and see that all you ever come in contact with are thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, and perceptions. Now, instead of giving your attention to the thought, sensation, or perception, give your attention to the knowing with which these are known. Our thoughts are known. Our feelings are known. Our sensations and perceptions are known. This knowing runs throughout all experience. It pervades experience. It's very easy to check that. Just ask yourself, what would experience be without the knowing of it? Could there be experience without the knowing of it? Could there be a movie without a screen? Obviously not. Could there be experience without this knowing? This knowing pervades all experience, runs throughout all experience. Just check that out. Visit your thoughts and feelings, your bodily sensations, sights if your eyes are open, sounds, textures. All experience is intimately pervaded by this knowing, just like whatever appears on the screen, maybe a movie, a documentary, a news bulletin, a football match, a drama, a thriller. It doesn't matter. It's all pervaded by the screen. And keep surveying your entire experience, but instead of focusing on the objective elements, the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations and perceptions, give your attention to the knowing element that pervades all experience. Become interested in the knowing with which all experience is known. It's like becoming interested in the screen whilst watching the movie. Ask yourself the question, is there any part or aspect of experience where this knowing is not present? Is there any part of experience where this knowing is more present than in other parts? Is it more present, for instance, in your innermost feelings than it is, say, in the sound of the traffic or the sight of these walls, if your eyes are open? Ask yourself the question, what is the relationship between this knowing and myself? Yourself has been with you all your life. What else has been with you all your life? Your thoughts? No. Your feelings? No. Your bodily sensations? No. perceptions? No. What about this knowing? Has that ever been absent in your life? No. This knowing runs ever present throughout life. I, yourself, has been with you all your life. I refers to that which you have always been, in spite of all the changes of the mind, the body, and the world. So I can only refer to what has been present with you all your life, to what cannot be separated or parted from you. In other words, I, ourself, is this pure knowing. This knowing is like a light that illuminates all experience, rendering it knowable. It is a mistake to think that this knowing just pervades one little corner of experience called my body-mind. If you look around, you'll see that there's no part of experience that is not pervaded by the knowing of it. Your most intimate thoughts and feelings, and the most apparently distant perceptions. The sound of traffic. Nothing is at a distance from this knowing. Nothing is at a distance from yourself. You are the knowing element that pervades experience. Just look around your entire experience. Try to find a part of it that is not pervaded by the knowing of it. Go inwards towards thoughts and feelings and outwards into the world. Try to find any little corner of experience that is not intimately pervaded by the knowing of it. That is not intimately pervaded by yourself. The knowing that pervades all experience has the capacity to take on any name or form and appear as a thought, a feeling, a sensation. If we look at the thought or the feeling or the sensation, it seems to be limited. But the stuff out of which that limited thought, feeling or sensation is made of, pure knowing, is not itself limited. Are you following me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the mistake we make is to presume that this pure knowing shares the limits of the forms that it assumes. Just as a screen has the ability to take the shape of a limited object, such as a blue sky. Nevertheless, the blueness of the sky, which is a limit, is not inherent to the screen. Mm-hmm. The screen doesn't share the limit, although it is the entire substance of the limited object. It itself is not limited by the form that it assumes. So likewise, this pure knowing has the ability to take the shape of what appears to be a limited object, such as a self, a body, etc. And the mistake we make is to imagine, when I say the mistake we make, the mistake that thought makes. Yeah. Because we, pure knowing, doesn't make any mistakes. The mistake that thought makes is to imagine that what we essentially are, pure knowing, shares the limits and the destiny of the forms that it assumes. Just go to your experience now. try to find a limit to the knowing with which you know your experience. Turn your attention towards that knowing. Can you find a place where it stops? Can you find a place that is outside knowing? Was there ever a time when knowing started? Have you ever noticed it starting or coming to an end?
It only makes me think of birth and death, but that might just be a construct of...
For something to be born, it must appear. For something to die, it must disappear. So have you ever experienced the appearance of this knowing?
No, it's always been there.
And the disappearance of it?
I don't know.
Have you ever experienced
No.
No?
No, absolutely not.
So could you ever experience the appearance or disappearance of this knowing?
Not with what I know now.
No,
Not
exactly.
With what I,
No,
not
you
with
couldn't.
what I am now.
You have never experienced its appearance or disappearance, nor could you ever. Nor has anybody.
Yeah.
Nor has anybody ever experienced the appearance or disappearance of this knowing. Why do we think it does appear and disappear? Why as a culture do we believe that what we are was born and will die, when nobody has ever experienced the appearance or disappearance of this knowing? Our culture is founded upon the belief that what we are was born, is evolving, growing old, and will one day die. And in fact, if we look very carefully at most of our thoughts and feelings and subsequent activities and relationships during the day, we will find this belief is very subtly buried in almost every thought we have. And yet when we explore our actual experience, we have to admit nobody has ever experienced the birth or death of themselves. It's just a religion. When I say a religion, I mean a religion in the sense that it's a belief.
Yeah.
It's a belief upon which our entire world culture is founded, but for which there is not the slightest evidence. That belief governs almost everything we think, feel, and do. Why not stay close to your experience? Instead of presuming that we were born and will die in spite of the fact that we have never experienced the appearance or disappearance of ourselves, why not presume that we don't? That we weren't born, we don't grow old, and we won't die, because that is our experience. This knowing has just remained ever present, unchanged, unlimited. It's never been harmed, it's never been hurt, it's never got bigger or smaller, it's never got sick, it's never got old, it's never been upset.
So it brings me to sitting with dying people and seeing them die and knowing, knowing now, I can't use that word like that, but it's, the body is still there.
Yes.
But you know it's not them.
That's right. That's right.
You know.
Once you have made the discovery for yourself, first of all, what you are, this pure knowing or awareness, and then to have discovered what its nature is, not just to discover I am awareness or pure knowing, but to discover what its nature is, that it is ever present and without limits. That removes fear, the fear of death, the fear of disappearance. So when you're sitting with a friend or a loved one who is dying, that the greatest gift you can give them is that understanding. Now, it's very unlikely that you can speak like this with them. But there are many ways that this understanding can be imparted. Speaking is just one of them, and is actually that there are many other equally or more efficient ways. For instance, if you are certain in yourself that you never disappear, that you weren't born, that you're not growing old, that you're not going to die, that certainty is communicated. There is a fearlessness in you which will be picked up by your friend without your having to say anything. Just by your being there, quietly holding your friend's hand or stroking their head or whatever it is that's appropriate at the moment, something of your fearlessness will be imparted subliminally to your friend without any words being spoken, and that is the greatest gift you can give to anybody. No words may pass between you, but somehow just by your presence being there, your friend will feel relieved of a burden. They may never formulate, "Oh, I'm no longer afraid of death." No, it might not, it probably won't happen like that, but they will be relieved of a burden.
I've heard of where awareness and where a lot of things, but just the sense of knowing was interesting to me. And then I go, well, I'm constantly saying I don't know. So then I'm like, well, how can I be knowing and then saying I don't know? And I guess I'm trying to know something, like instead of, like you're saying we're knowing, but I'm sitting here saying I don't know because there's some particular specific, there's a thing or some form that maybe I think I need to learn or grasp, but you're saying that we're just at knowing, there's no...
Yes. You see, without realizing it, we think and feel that there is a vast realm called the unknown, and that things come from the unknown into the known where they become known. Yes. Actually, nobody has ever found that space, the unknown. Go now to the unknown. Have you ever experienced the unknown? No, because as soon as you experienced it, it would be known. Try again now to experience the unknown. Can anybody experience the unknown? Has anybody ever experienced the unknown? Why do we think it's there? Why do we believe that there is something other than knowing, when nobody has ever, for a second, experienced it? When a new object appears, let's take a new thought. When a new thought appears, the only substance present in that thought is the knowing of it. Yes? Are you with me?
That's all I can tell.
Okay, so all there is to a thought is the knowing of it. So when the new thought appears, no new object comes into existence. The knowing out of which the new thought is made was already there. Just like when you switch from the documentary to the movie, suddenly a landscape appears, but the landscape doesn't come from outside the screen and suddenly appear on it. No, the landscape is a modulation of the screen that was already there, that was always there. In other words, nothing new came into existence when the movie started. It's everything that appears on the screen is a modulation of the ever-present substance of the screen, and our experience is like that. This knowing, it has not, we can't say it's always been there, because it's not in time. We can say it is ever present. It is eternally present. Nothing comes into experience from outside that knowing. There is just all that has ever been known is that knowing, and it is that knowing that knows itself, modulating itself in all these names and forms. From the point of view of one of those names and forms, there are selves and objects being born and dying, coming in and out of existence. But from the point of view of the one that truly knows, the screen, pure knowing, nothing new comes into existence. Nothing is born. Nothing disappears or dies. There is just its own ever-present self, modulating itself in the totality of experience. So the unknown is a concept, but a concept that doesn't refer to our experience. There's no such thing.
So it's just the mind taking these things that are appearing and saying, oh, this is new, but from a point of...
Exactly. From the point of view of thought, it is thought that abstracts the selves and the objects. It's thought that says that character in the movie has just been born, just appeared, that character appeared, and this character has just died, and this character is good, and that one's bad. And that object has just appeared, and that object disappeared. That's all from the point of view of thought. But from the point of view of the one that truly knows, the knowing of experience, it's quite different. That knowing doesn't know objects and selves. The division of this seamless, intimate knowing into two parts, a subject that knows and an object that is known, is constructed in thought, and later substantiated in our feelings in the body. And the combination of these two give the separate self its apparent independence. But it's an illusion. It's not there. It never has been. Most of us lead our lives based on the presumption that we are this separate, limited, temporary self. Nearly all the thoughts, feelings, activities and relationships that we engage in are based on that presumption, but when we look at it, it's not there. This understanding was at the founding of both Eastern and Western culture. Parmenides said almost identical words to the words that were written in the Bhagavad Gita. That which is never ceases to be. That which is not never comes into existence. This understanding was at the founding of both Eastern and Western culture. Western culture turned away from it sooner than Eastern culture did, but this understanding, that which is never ceases to be. Pure awareness, infinite consciousness, never ceases to be. That which is not, a separate self, a separate object with its own independent existence, that which is not never comes into existence. Our culture has turned away from this understanding, and when we look around at the state of our culture, the conflict that exists in individuals, in relationships, in communities, and in our world community, we can trace them back directly to the overlooking of this understanding. If you go very deeply into what you are, this pure awareness, we find that it cannot be agitated. Thoughts can be agitated, feelings can be agitated, the body can be agitated, but that which is aware of them cannot. It's like the space of this room. It just allows everything. It doesn't get agitated by what we do or don't do. It doesn't need, the space in this room doesn't need us to be sitting peacefully and quietly. So discover that about yourself. In other words, that your nature is peace, undisturbable peace, and undisturbable peace is identical to happiness, because there's no rejection of the current situation. There's no feeling, I want to reject what is present and go off and search for what is not present in order to become happy. I, awareness, am already totally at peace. Discover that about yourself, and then re-engage with the world of objects. On what basis would you engage with objects? You would never seek happiness in an object again. You'd never seek love in a relationship again. That doesn't mean to say that you'd cease engaging with objects and relationships. No, you keep engaging with them, but not on the basis of wanting to derive happiness or love from them. You engage with them because you feel at peace and loving, and you want to share that, you want to express that, you want to celebrate it, but you no longer want happiness from an object. You no longer want love from a person. See how that changes your experience. Joy comes from what you are. Joy lives in our own being. If you were to do a survey now on the streets of all 7 billion of us and ask, what is it you really want in life? Everyone would say happiness. And everybody is seeking it, or almost everybody, in objects, substances, situations, activities, relationships. They get the object or substance, and for a while the seeking comes to an end. There is a moment of happiness. The object or relationship wears off, and up bubbles the suffering again. And we go on from object to object to object to relationship, seeking happiness, until we get so thoroughly frustrated. At some stage we turn round and we question, who is this one that is seeking? Everybody is seeking happiness, which means everybody is seeking the end of separation, which means everybody is seeking their own being. Our culture has persuaded us to look for happiness in objects, situations and relationships, and for this reason the poet Thoreau said, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. It's true of almost all 7 billion of us, because we're looking in the wrong place for happiness. It resides, as you rightly say, in the simple knowing of our own being. It's equally available to everybody. That's the greatest discovery one can make about oneself. What we are is happiness itself.